He was known simply as Lord Byron, a gentleman with a graceful swing. He was the embodiment of humanity. Byron Nelson was indeed an incredible human being, but he was also a fierce competitor. Between 1944 and 1945, he won an astounding 31 events. And in 1945, Nelson had the greatest year in the history of professional golf, winning a record-setting 11 consecutive tournaments on the way to an 18-win season. He ended his golf career at the ripe old age of 34, after earning enough money to buy a ranch in Texas to retire on. Nelson finished with 5 major championships and 52 PGA Tour titles to his name. But his legend reaches beyond the victories and accolades. Byron Nelson will forever be remembered for his genuine smile, his love for the game, and a life lived with purpose, grace, and love.
To say a few words about Byron Nelson, it is my honor to introduce Chairman of the World Golf Foundation and Commissioner of the PGA Tour, Mr. Tim Finchem.
Thank you, George. Good evening, everyone. I've been asked to add a few words about Byron, and one of the great things about this job is you get to meet many of these great Hall of Famers and spend some time with them, and that certainly was the case with Byron. Early on, Dean, when he got the Players' Championship going, invited Byron to be a part of it, to come every year, and indeed he did, year after year after year. There was a special dinner with him every Sunday night at the Players, and he continued to come until he couldn't travel anymore. Later on in 1994, Byron was the official starter, if you will, at the first President's Cup. And he was on the tee for every match, working with President Ford as the honorary chairman, starting the matches. We attended his tournament every year, and last year I had the incredible experience. He invited me to come and spend a day with him in his wood shop at his home to show me how he made things. And over the years I'd seen these little trinkets he would make and give to players, little wood things, but I had no idea that he was such an incredible craftsman. I think if you knew of Byron, if you were a golfer, but you didn't know him, you certainly knew what a great competitor he was and how he handled himself. If you spend any time at all around the man, you realized what a true gentleman he was and how wonderful he was to be around. If you had the opportunity to sort of hang around with him, to have lunch with him, to spend pieces of time with him, you learned what an incredible storyteller he was and how deeply he felt about things. Byron would tell you at the drop of a hat that regardless of his accomplishments on the golf course and other things he did over the years, the one thing he was by far and away the most proud of is the partnership he forged with the Salesmanship Club to do the incredible things for charity that they managed to do in Dallas. And although he would never say it, I honestly believe that that's what he would like to be remembered for. And if he's listening tonight, I can tell you, Byron, that after raising nearly $100 million and helping countless thousands of families and individuals in Dallas, that you will indeed be remembered for that, because in doing so, you really changed what PGA Tour is all about and created today a situation where it's the secondary mission of our organization. Byron, we will miss you, but your spirit will stay with us forever. Thank you, and I also have the privilege of making a special introduction to our next presenter. Before I do that, I would like to recognize and thank our Chief Operating Officer, Jack Peter, and his staff for the incredible job they've done the last few years here with the Hall of Fame. And I know I know most of you are aware of this, but I'll say it anyway, that this facility could not run, like many of our tournaments on the LPGA and the PGA Tour, could not run without volunteer support. There are some 250 volunteers that commit their time and energy to the Hall of Fame. Over 100 of them are with us tonight. And if you see them in their green vests, give them a thank you for the great work they do to help tonight work and the other things at the Hall of Fame during the course of the year. Thank you so much. I know most of you are aware that what else is happening these few days is that there's a conference going on, the annual 2020 conference, where we talk about a lot of things, including the growth of the game. And our next speaker spoke this afternoon to the 2020 conference, and I introduced him, Arnold Palmer, to that group by remembering that we had some information presented earlier in the day about the historical growth of the game, and there's this big spike in interest that you look at when you look at graphs and tables that occurred in the 60s, and that spike in the huge increase in the number of golf courses being built, the increased interest on television and fans, was due to Arnold Palmer. Probably an individual that has had more impact on the growth and interest and love for the game of anybody in the game's history. His impact is immeasurable. And today he spoke and took questions of the people at 2020. It was interesting to see the faces of people who had an opportunity to listen to him comment about his perception of the game today. He is with us today, and I guess perhaps one of his first public appearances since making the decision 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago to discontinue his competitive career. And he did it suddenly, and Holly, my wife, reminded me that he had warned us of that a couple of years ago, that he was going to make a decision one day, that that's it. And that's what he did. But I think the good news is that regardless of that fact, that this tremendous impact that he's had on the game over the years that he has today will continue. Ladies